In 2018, Standard Bank was honored with over 100 coveted industry awards. But these awards aren't ours alone. They belong to you, our customers and employees. So thank you 100 times over. Standard Bank, moving forward. An authorized financial services and credit provider.
Draft regulations have been released on the employment of foreign nationals and the public is able to comment on them. The draft regulations include proposals affecting the application of work visas, corporate visas and the submission of skills transfer plans. To tell us more about governing legislation and the detail of the regulations, I'm joined on the line by Marisa Jacobs. She's Director and Head of Immigration and Mobility at Expat Web. Marisa, there is some legislation that is yet to be implemented and it speaks to foreign nationals' employability in South Africa. Just give us some of the key issues that are being discussed currently.
Sure. So the draft regulations is around Section 8 of the Employment Services Act, which, as you mentioned, pertains to the employing of foreign nationals in South Africa. So it's published by the Department of Labour and therefore speaks specifically to those immigration or visa items where the Department of Labour is involved. So the first one, which is the general work visa category. Secondly, the corporate work visa. And then lastly, it also speaks to, for the first time, about skills transfer plan and the involvement of Department of Labour when it comes to the transferring of skills from foreign nationals to local citizens.
So has the latest law or regulations, are they likely to make it easier for foreign nationals to work in the country? Because that has been a complaint in the past. And of course, we know that visas have been relaxed somewhat in the recent past.
Correct. So the draft regulations, in my view, do not really ease or make it more difficult to employ foreign nationals. In this instance, what it seeks to do is to provide a bit of guideline to business and to corporates in terms of how do they really manage the transferring of skills once they've employed the foreign national. So perhaps in the past they've seen that although a skills transfer plan is developed at the onset, there isn't really monitoring and checking in on that skills transfer plan. So they're asking now in the draft regulations that there must be monitoring of that skills transfer and that they want to see an annual report from business to confirm.
So what is it that a foreign national on their side has to do to ensure that they're able to work in South Africa legally?
So the draft regulation speaks to the applicant as being the employer. So this will really regulate employers and companies in South Africa and how they go about employing foreign nationals. So it's not something that the actual expat or foreign national will need to deal with directly, but rather through the employer. But it essentially asks that the foreign national, that the employer must first look that they've exhausted the local labour market, as has been the case in the past. So that's not new. But then it further asks them to make sure that the skills transfer plan is being enforced.
So how do they go about proving to the authorities that they've exhausted all their avenues and that indeed they can't find a local person who can do the job?
So they must place an advert in the local newspaper. These regulations now include websites, which wasn't there before, obviously, with technology growing and the change in how we recruit. So they must place an advert. That advert must run for 30 days. They must collect all the applicants' details and then provide a report to the Department of Labour to show that they have considered those applicants, that they've interviewed them, and then provide some interview notes to show why they weren't suitable. The Department of Labour will then look on their internal system, the ESSA system, to send possible candidates to the employer or the company is looking for the employee. According to these regulations, they must do that within 10 business days, which I think is ambitious. And then once they've sent it to the employer must again, within 10 business days, provide feedback on why, on if those candidates weren't suitable, why they weren't suitable. And only after all of that has been done will the Department of Labour consider issuing a certificate to say you may now look at a foreign national to employ him for this position or this role.
The skills transfer idea is obviously a very good one, and it's one that's done all over the world. But you talked about sort of an annual monitoring system. How practical is that for the Department of Labour?
I am hoping that there is going to be some additional resources made available to the Department of Labour, because I think in the current state it's not a very feasible plan. But I do think it's a noble plan, and I think it's inevitable. I think businesses, even if it wasn't regulation or legislated, businesses should be looking at really tapping the skills of these foreign nationals and making use of them while they're in South Africa to transfer their skills and to upskill locals. So I think it's a very good thing. The practicality of it, only time will tell.
And in terms of process now, Marisa, what happens in terms of, there's the public are able to look at the regulations and make comments, but then when are those regulations going to come into effect?
I think the commentary phase of this is vital. These are draft regulations, and they certainly need input from business and from the public. We need to all go and look at these regulations, look how practical they are. In my opinion, they're being very vague in terms of the skills transferred. We need to add some meat to that and give them some guidance on what is practical in a business perspective. As a company, Expert Web, we are collecting some of the input from businesses, and we're asking business to please contact us, give us their input so that we can put it together in a collated manner and send it in as one submission to the Department of Labour to consider. They've asked for comments by the 31st of January, and then I'm not quite sure how long they're going to take to consider this. I suppose it all depends on how large the submissions are for consideration.
Well, there's not much time left. And where can businesses that perhaps are listening, where can they get hold of you to make those submissions if they're interested?
Yes, so they can search for us on they can Google us ExpertWeb or go to expertweb.com. That's XPATWEB, or they can email me, marisa@expertweb.com, and we'd be happy to chat with them about their comments.
That was Marisa Jacobs. She's Director and Head of Immigration and Mobility at Expat Web.
Thank you. 100 times over. Standard Bank's 2018 awards belong to you, our customers and employees. For the full list of awards, over 100 and counting, go to standardbank.com. Standard Bank, moving forward. An authorized financial services and credit provider.